Another dog right beside me. I got to go. So, it's like this.
You think 20 minutes is it over? Oh yeah.
Like, no. I was like, back on tomorrow. Yeah, I'm waiting.
Hey, good evening, everybody. It is 6:30. We better get started. Somebody be jumping on us because we're not online.
We are online.
Oh, we are online. Good.
Don't doubt me.
Hey, it's good to see everybody. I'm glad you're here. We can get these proverbs read tonight. It's funny, I'm doing this, not the same study, but we're doing a Sunday school study. I think some Sunday school classes are using Proverbs in the last quarter. And I'm teaching that at Bevan Ridge this quarter. And so we've gone back, we're in the front part of Proverbs, and the wild thing about it is this part of Proverbs says the same thing in the front part of Proverbs. So as we continue to read, but we're going to go through this whole book. I mean, it goes to 31, so we're halfway through. And we're going to continue to talk about it because evidently it's important that we hear it over and over and over and over again, right? So that's what we're going to do. I don't think we have anything else except for don't forget about Operation Inasmuch this weekend. If you haven't signed up and you want to participate, please call the office tomorrow. Let David know. There are several projects that we're doing. I know one, I don't know if he's talking to you yet, Maddie, about going over to Daly Hills. Mm-hmm. Okay. I got to get the chainsaw. I think I'm going to cut that.
He said to not allow you to do that. Does anyone else know how to use a chainsaw? We might need to call you.
No, I can use a chainsaw. All right, but anyway, we've got Operation Inasmuch coming up, and then next Sunday, I hope you're starting to get excited. We're going to have homecoming. Go ahead and pray about the weather, but there is no backup plan at this point. We're not planning on making one, I hope. We're going to be outside for our 11 o'clock service. We're going to serve box lunches afterwards. There won't be any tables or anything set up because we're not going to promote gatherings of a bunch of people, but we will have lunch. It won't be the same as what we normally have in that covered dish. Ain't nothing like a little Baptist covered dish. But
is that a combined service?
that is going to be combined at 11 o'clock. So, and just know that what's going to happen is when you come in, you'll have to come in on what's this street right here? Lee Street.
Jackson.
That's Jackson.
Yeah.
So we're going to have everybody come in on the Jackson Street side and keep them below. Because we're going to try, hopefully we have a couple hundred people and be able to actually meet on the upper part of the parking lot, still be able to be social distance, and get a couple hundred people there without a bunch of cars. So we'll move on. I'll have all the buses and the vans. We're going to move them over to Walker Field, to that parking lot over there, so that we'll have that area for parking as well. So I'm excited about that service because everybody's together. We got all kinds of music, all kinds of people speaking. It's gonna be a real good time. Then also remember we're not doing trunk or treat. However, I saw the other day where Crosslink and the bowling alley, if you've got kids and people are looking for trunk or treat, they are going to do trunk or treat in the bowling alley parking lot on Halloween. So if you know somebody's looking for that, we're not going to do that here. We're actually going to have Stars Go Dim as a community concert, so we can still be outside, still be distance for all those who want to come. Fat Man's food truck will be here selling barbecue sandwiches, and there may be one other food truck here. We may set up, I think what we're going to do is try to set up maybe 4 trucks in strategic places that we don't gather, so that if kids do show up and they happen to be in costume or whatever, we got something, we'll have something to give out to them. We're hoping that we'll have another concert of our own later on in the fall, and where we'll have burn barrels outside. We'll have hot chocolate,
January.
popcorn. January, that's when we're doing that? Okay, so we're doing that in January. So we got some things that we're trying to do where we can gather more people, but we'll be outside. we're planning on too, just so everybody knows, in case you're watching online or you're here, we are planning on bringing the kids programs back in a safety manner on November the 1st. November the 1st. So when we do that, we're going to keep most of our kids, our elementary school kids will be in the fellowship hall. And the parents will be able to come back and we'll see where that goes, and we'll just, hey, we can do what we can do. But that's kind of the plans going forward. We have still not decided on, we're waiting to see how we're going to do hanging in the greens. We've got an idea that we may end up, instead of having one, we may do a virtual service, we may do the hanging of the greens at 3 services. We just won't put everything up. We'll put part of it up, but go through the whole service, put part of it up at the early service, part of it up at the 11 o'clock service, and finish it off at the 6:30 service. But we'll do the entire service at all 3 services. We just won't put everything up. So that's kind of, I know that people are asking about that, and that's where we stand with that. And then hopefully by December, because I would really, really, really be disappointed this year if Christmas Eve service, I mean, I guess I'll do it 4 times, I don't care. But we got to do Christmas Eve. That's one of my favorite services of the year. I like it under the candlelight. I love communion. So, those are the things that we've got planned coming up. The other things to be on the lookout for is make sure that you get your deacon recommendations in if you haven't already done that. We haven't had a whole lot of those, but we gotta get on that here really quickly because we'll be voting the 1st of December, but getting everybody together takes a little while, so that ends soon. I can't remember when. Check your email.
I thought it was today.
I think it's today.
Today. So get it in now! But so we got that. We will have to have, there is going to have to be a business meeting coming up before too long. It will have to be in the very first part of December, and we'll get out as much information as possible, but we've got to do the budget. We got to do a budget for 2021. So we're going to have a business meeting at some point. We'll work that out and be safe there as well. There's some really interesting information that I can't disclose right now coming out of the building team, and some things that will be going forward with the land and maybe some opportunities there. We haven't changed our vision. We may be in a little weird place right now, but our vision hasn't changed. We're still paying off our land. It would be great if we could get that paid off and figure out what we're going to do next. So the building team is meeting. I know they've got some interesting things that they're coming up with, and they'll be talking to you about before too long anyway. I think that covers everything. Oh, the only other thing is if somebody from the, I want to call it personnel, what is it? Ministry placement team, all right, which used to be the personnel committee, is if they call you, that means that we need people. We're asking people to be a part of the church. If you're a member of this church, part of your responsibility and accountability is to serve here. So if somebody asks you to serve on some type of team, please give it very careful consideration and say yes. That's easy, right? There you go, Pat. I got you. All right. I think that's everything I got. Anybody else got anything else? All right, let's have a word of prayer. Let's jump right into Proverbs tonight. Pray with me. Lord God, I thank you for this day, for the many opportunities that you give us, for the gift of our salvation, for this place to meet, for the eager souls that are here tonight and those that are watching online. God, I just hope that you will open us up, that you will bless us, that we'll get something, even though we've heard this maybe once or twice or 3 times or 10 times, but it would still pierce our hearts that we might wear this around our neck every single day. Lord, that we would be wise in the things that we do. And we know that wisdom comes only from you, and we know that you will help us and guide us and direct us if we will just let it. Lord, help us to do away with some of our stubborn ways, to fully surrender to you and actually hear your word and do the things that you would have us do in this world, especially in our community, our workplaces, our families, Lord, and especially here in your church. Now guide us through this message, these scriptures tonight, and just send the Holy Spirit to us. We praise you, we thank you in the name of Jesus. Amen. All right, so, I meant to ask him, did Chris do all right last week?
Yeah, yeah.
He did okay? All right, so we might, if we have to, we might let him do it again one day. I'm proud of our staff and the way that we do step up and we do some different things. I think you'll see some more of that for our homecoming, and I'm excited about it. But he couldn't remember exactly where you stopped last week. He said either 26 or
We started on
27.
26, we started on 27.
All right, so we should be on 27. All right, so let's jump right in. Somebody read verse 27. Some greedy person read that. Just picking. Somebody read it.
So it's Proverbs 15:27.
Yes.
Didn't say 15.
Oh, so,
The greedy bring ruins their households, but the one who hates bribes will live.
all right. Have we heard this before? He who is greedy. When you consider, who is the greedy man? What is greed? What is a greedy person? What's a greedy person? How do you define greedy?
Taking more than you need.
Taking more than you need.
Don't share.
Don't share.
Selfish.
Selfish. What else?
Maybe always trying to get the most or be the first.
Sure. I think everybody right there. I think if we put all that together, we've overcome Webster in the dictionary. And if we take that and think about that, are there times in our own lives where we are greedy? Is there times where you want more than you need? Times when you're selfish? Times where you want more than everybody else? Isn't that greedy too? So we've all been there, but when that happens, it says that you gain trouble for your own house. Would you say that's true? I mean, everybody in here said you've been there. Do you gain troubles for your own house? You notice that a lot of people who are greedy, how do they try to justify it?
Provide for my family.
I'm providing for my family. That's the biggest justification that people put out there. But according to this scripture, it is not wise. Right? Because being greedy for gain will ultimately bring trouble to one's house. You just got to live with that. But he who hates bribes will live. Now, how do these two things fit together? What's a bribe?
The first part of one of mine says, from unjust gain troubles his own household. So the bribe would be how you get unjust gain.
Correct. But what is the bribe? What's a bribe?
Paying somebody to say or do what you want.
Okay. Anybody else?
It's like an exchange.
An exchange. It says here, it says, the greedy man or woman will do anything for more money and loves bribes if they can bring more money. God's blessing is on men and women of integrity who hate bribes and other dishonest ways of doing business. So if I were to wrap this up in a cute little package, I would say be honest, not greedy, be a person of integrity. Right? Anybody got anything else? Let's move on to 28 then. Let's roll.
The heart of the righteous weighs its answers, but the mouth of the wicked gushes evil.
Now, we've seen this in different forms already, right? A couple of times, right? And you notice, I think we talked about this before, but Solomon, he uses parts of the body. He uses the eyes a lot, he uses the neck a lot, but he especially likes to use the heart. I was talking about this today. The heart of the righteous studies how to answer. What is it about the heart? The heart can't think, can it? No. What is it about the heart? Why do you think?
It determines what you think.
It determines what you think. What else do you think about the heart? It feels. Oh, it's got emotions. True. What else? Without the heart, what happens to the body? It dies. You know, everything, for the most part, everything else, and this is a terrible way to put this, but everything else can shut down. But if the heart's still beating, guess what you are? Alive. Right? So what's in your heart is what your life is about. It's your lifeline. So I think that's why Solomon uses the heart a lot. And a lot of times we talk about, you know, you gotta have good, you gotta have, you know, even in sports we talk about we need people with heart. We talk about people who have good hearts. We talk about this, we use that all the time. But I think what we're trying to say is we need somebody whose lifeline is a good thing.
Big-hearted people. You
Say
talk
that
about
again?
somebody being big-hearted.
Big-hearted. It doesn't mean that it's, you're exactly right. But I think it was interesting to say that. But, so the heart of the righteous, that's somebody who does good. I like to use righteousness as the right thing. Right? That makes it easy because it's got it in it. But what does it mean to study how to answer? Answer what?
Any decision.
Any decision? I didn't want to do this tonight. But if you watched that mess last night, I don't think anybody was studying how to answer. I'm sorry, I did not mean to go there. Yes, you did. I did. It was killing me. It was killing me. But I think we know that had there been study to answer, there would have been a lot better answers. You know, I think we all, that was a great example of how not to do this. Because when you really think about it, when you're talking, if I were to talk to somebody in here like that, it wouldn't surprise me to get my head beat in. You know, but I'm smarter than that. As Christians, one of the things that we have, the good news about us being able to study to answer is we need to know the Word, first of all. We need to know the gift of salvation and how to share it. And sometimes that's not easy to do. Sometimes people will be like what you saw. But one of the things that we can do is if we study and let the Holy Spirit, if we bring all that together, when our answer comes out, it's not always ours. It belongs to a higher power. And I think that's, when you mix righteousness and study together, or righteousness and learning, or righteousness and the Bible, that inside of one's heart, you're going to get a good answer. I just think that it's smooth like that. And that's one of those things. But anyway, I apologize for going there, but it is what it is. The second part of this, though, is the one that always kind of, that I think is always interesting, because this is one of the things that I have personally worked on for a long time. And it's not always an easy thing, but it says the mouth of the wicked pours forth evil. Has anybody in here had, like, you had to step back because what came out of your mouth seemed to be evil? Yeah, me too. But that's an easy thing to do, isn't it? I mean, the mind snaps. It'll snap like that. And the things that come out of your mouth, you'll be like, God, I shouldn't have said that.
Well, that's talking without thinking. He speaks before he thinks. You know, and the first part says, you know, if you're wise, you think, you consider it.
Correct. So the best thing we can do, and we should have learned this a long time ago, is you know, we can count, but we really should work on that. That's a practice art. But a lot of times, I've also learned this, is that if you can take a lot of that out of your heart. I know I've told this story many times, and I hate to keep going over it, but at one time I was a really good cusser. But the reason that I don't anymore is that vocabulary is no longer in my heart. And so therefore it doesn't flow out. So you can, there is some learned behavior. We learned how to do it in the first place, right? But sometimes until we get out of the way and let God uproot the things that have been put into our foundation that aren't good, then we'll continue to do the things that Solomon is saying don't do. Our mouth will be wicked and it'll pour forth from you some evil. But I'm sure that when I think of evil, I've never thought of myself as evil. I mean, when I think of evil, I'm thinking about straight devil, straight Satan. That's an evil person. I mean, you know, what do you think about when you think of evil?
Charles Manson.
Charles Manson, I would say that is evil.
Freddy Krueger.
Freddy Krueger. It must be getting close to Halloween. But I would say those two things are evil, so we would never compare ourselves to that, would we? However, evil is a big stretch. Anything that's not good is evil. I know we like to stick with bad. I just want to be bad. But bad and evil are synonyms, and they work together. But anyway, watch what you say. Be smart and think about something before you react. We know that can cause you to be a stumbling block to somebody. It can hurt your witness really awful. You know, you're sitting here one day talking about Jesus, and then the next thing you know, the stuff that's coming out of your mouth has nothing to do with Jesus. It's crazy.
I'll think about Ephesians 4:29. You need to read it first. That's the first thing that comes to you.
Ephesians 4:29. What does that say?
Just talking about foul language and all that good stuff.
Anybody's got their Bible that's faster than me?
Do not let any unwholesome talk come out of your mouths, but only what is helpful for building others up according to their needs, that it may benefit those who listen.
Did y'all get that? What comes out of your mouth should be good. It should be wholesome. And it should help build other people up. Whew! That's tough. Think about that before you answer. Every time. Thank you for that, Danny. That's right. Yeah, that's perfect. All right, let's move to 29. Who's got it?
The Lord is far from the wicked, but he hears the prayer of the righteous.
You know, it's kind of weird. A lot of times in society, when is the time that we usually call those, a lot of people who, I don't want to call them Sunday Christians, but a lot of people who don't have this relationship with God, when do they usually call them?
When they're in trouble.
It used to be me. Sick, in trouble, need a little help. That's usually when we call them. But, and sometimes I can remember, Lord, if you'll get me out of this.
I'll be at church on Sunday.
Do what?
I'll be at church on Sunday.
Or I'll never do this again. You know, do you think God hears those prayers?
Yes.
Do you think he does anything about it? It says right here, the Lord is far from the wicked.
Well, maybe the person that is asking isn't wicked. You know, they're just in a bad way. I don't know. That's a tough question.
That is a tough question, isn't it? It's one of those age-old questions that's been brought up in church a lot.
But I think he knows your heart. God always knows your heart.
So even though we might think you're wicked, God doesn't think you're wicked?
God knows.
Well, one of the things that I think we ought to realize too, that we don't talk about enough in church, is that God has a purpose for every human being. God has a purpose for everything. Cameron, you all right, man?
But Sammy, let me just say real quick, think about, like, I'm just going to use an extreme example, but think about a drug addict who, they're doing wicked things. They're doing things that we don't know this person, and so we judge their behavior as wicked. they're just stuck. They've got this addiction, and they haven't made that decision yet to change. But so God knows their heart. So when they do stupid things, a lot of times, they will pray and ask God for forgiveness. They're going to go and do it again tomorrow. And they're going to ask God for forgiveness again tomorrow. So God knows our hearts.
Sure.
And so I just want to leave it at that.
Well, I think it says here, men and women who are wicked do their best to separate themselves from God. So the true wicked that we're talking about here are people who are trying to not have anything to do with God.
Well, I think in the Proverbs, a lot of times, he's just trying to make the point. So he's got the wicked and he's got the righteous. He's not talking about
The people in between.
your basic person who does wicked things but is trying, to be a righteous person in their heart. He's talking about a wicked person who is not repentant, who is not looking for God, who is not trying to follow the Lord.
Freddy Krueger.
Exactly. So that's the wicked person who is doing this, and the righteous person, whether they're drug addicted or whatever, they're still got a heart for God.
Yeah, I think you're being too hard. Wicked here means wicked. And, I mean, wicked gushes evil. I mean, if you hit your thumb with a hammer and that's not wicked gushing evil. That's like James refers and Ephesians refers to taming the tongue and controlling your anger and everything. Wicked is wicked here. I mean, I think we can all identify wicked, and it's not, the guy who, hits his thumb with a hammer. I mean, there's a difference, and Solomon is making that difference here when he writes it.
Well, it also says here that the men and women who are wicked do their best to separate themselves from God, and in this sense, God is far from them. But it also says that God draws near to those who draw near to Him. So if you're calling out to God, what are you trying to do? Draw near to Him. So He does hear this prayer, and the prayer of the righteous man or woman is effective before God. And you can read about a lot of this in the book of James. The book of James says a lot about that. So,
Well, also think about the prodigal son. He came back. Did he think he was being righteous? No, he still thought of himself as lost. But the Lord ran to him and pulled him in, and he listened to his plea long before he cleaned himself up.
sure.
So, yeah, the Lord hears. He knows your heart. He knows when you're coming back, and He'll be ready and running to you.
But isn't it fun to talk about? Because what's going to happen is one day somebody's going to ask you these questions. This is why I propose sometimes some off-the-wall stuff, right? And try to push
That's
this
why.
and try to push this to the places because so that we'll know. Because it's going to come up if you ever proclaim your witness. There's going to be somebody who's going to challenge you, right? And I want you to be able to answer and be able to study. And here's the answer, right? That's why we do this. So I'm glad that we bring these things up, and I'm glad that we have some of these hard questions to where we can figure out what God is really doing in the hearts of the people who claim it and who call out to Him, and especially those who want to draw near. But I like the fact that prayer is effective. Because some people will ask you that. It's odd to me, and I like to tell people this, where people ask you, when people say, hey, you're a little closer to God than I am, would you pray for me? You think that they've read something like this and said, hey, maybe you're living a little more right than me, so maybe you're closer to God, so maybe He'll hear you first. Does it go in that hierarchy? And people will ask you that. So, but I truly feel like that God hears all. I heard, I'm sorry, I'm going to get off the topic for just a second. I heard something the other day I thought was very interesting, is that, and I had never thought about this, but it's true. God is omnipresent. So God can be everywhere at the same time. However, Satan is not. Satan is not omnipresent. He can only be in one place at a time. However, he uses a lot of things in this world to do his work for him. TV, internet. He has figured out how to use one little thing in order to to approach or to affect a lot of people. But I thought that was interesting, and I don't know why that just came to me. I think it's because we're talking about God being near, because God can be everywhere at the same time. But the devil cannot. He can only be one place at a time. All right, I'm sorry. I did go off there. 15:30. Somebody go. I need somebody with some really good eyes.
Light in a messenger's eyes brings joy to the heart, and good news gives health to the bones.
Whew. This all sounds positive to me. All right. Why do you think he says the light of the eyes? What would you, if somebody were to ask you that, what are the light of the eyes? What is the light of the eyes?
Soul.
Could be a soul. What do the eyes do for the body? See, right? And would there be light without eyes for the body? No. It couldn't be, right? According to this, it says the eyes are something like a lamp to the whole body, which Matthew brings up in chapter 6, verses 22 and 23. I'll look that up for you real quick. Let me read it for you. Matthew 6, 22 says, the eye is, this is red letters too, so Jesus is saying this. It says, the eye is the lamp of the body. If your eyes are healthy, your whole body will be full of light. But if your eyes are unhealthy, your whole body will be full of darkness. If then the light within you is darkness, how great is that darkness? That's what Jesus said. But the light of the eyes rejoices the heart. Have you ever looked at somebody and you found joy in just looking at them? I mean, their eyes are bright and their smile. I think most of that comes, I've got a picture on my phone of my little grandbaby. When her eyes are wide open, she smiles good, gracious in the morning. I mean, that's enough light to light up cities, nations almost. I think that we should take that into our worlds wherever we go and be the light of the world through our own bodies, through our own eyes. But what does the second part of this mean? In a good report makes anybody got a different take on this? I mean, a different version.
Good news refreshes them.
Good news. Anybody else got one?
Good news gives hope to the bones.
What do you think that means? How does good news make one healthy?
You feel better, you feel more uplifted, and so it changes, I don't know,
Physiology.
yeah.
Sure. No, you're exactly right.
Positive
mean-
attitude.
Say that again.
You have positive attitude.
Positive attitude. Here we go. Come on. What else?
Spiritual health.
Spiritual health. But you know, most of the time when we feel good about everything, our insides feel good about everything. I mean, it's just, it says good news cheers the spirit and brings health to the body. The ultimate fulfillment of this is the gospel, the good news, the good report of what God did in Jesus Christ to demonstrate his love for us and to rescue us. That made me feel good. My bones feel good already.
Well, that's what I was going to say. The bringer feels good and the receiver feels good. Good news helps both sides.
And it travels fast.
If you could say, oh, so-and-so died of a broken heart, okay, people, if they got bad news, well then, the reverse is if I'm getting good news, just imagine what that can do.
Sure, how much more life that might give you.
Yeah.
And it makes you feel good. All right, let's go to 31. Somebody with big ears.
Whoever heeds life-giving correction will be at home among the wise.
Whoever heeds life-giving correction. Anybody got a different? I got a different version here.
The ear that listens,
The ear that listens. That listens to what?
life-giving reproof.
Gotcha. Anybody else? This, I got the hard one. Mine says, well, I've got two translations here. Mine says, the ear that hears the rebukes of life.
It says the ear that heareth the reproof of life, abideth among the wise.
So, what is the reproof of life? Well, the rebukes of life. I think we have to go back to the other one that says life-giving correction, right? So somebody who listens and heeds life-giving correction will be at home among the wise. Everybody get that? Everybody good with that? The thing that, why do you think he said this? Does everybody have ears?
Yeah, not everybody listens though.
Say that again.
Not everybody listens.
But not everybody listens. Not every ear will hear, not every ear will listen to correction, but there's blessing to those that do. That kind of puts it in a little time. Also we could say somebody who hears and receives it gratefully, it says. I think it's interesting to say. Somebody who hears it gratefully and then does what with it?
Okay.
Obeys it. Good. Or acts on it, that's good too. If we can't learn, we can never abide among the wise. If we can't learn, can we ever be wise? No. So we should hear and obey the good, the correction. Anybody anything else? Here we go. 32.
Those who disregard discipline despise themselves, but the one who heeds correction gains understanding.
Wow. Think we've heard this before.
I think we just heard it a second ago.
It's just a few more different words, right? So if you don't like instruction, you don't like you. You know what it says? But if you listen to it, you'll understand it. Right? I can't say that any better. I like it. Let's go to 33. Look at us. We're fixing to finish chapter 15. Come on.
The fear of the Lord is instruction and wisdom, and humility comes before honor.
All right, so let's retrace the process of the fear of the Lord is to hold him in awe. Exactly. Everybody understand that? Fear of the Lord is not to cower down and run, right? But it is to hold him in awe and not want to do anything that would disappoint him. But that is to have that awe, to have this fear. It says that's the instruction of wisdom, is what it says. So, this is, and even the Bible study says that a common and foundational theme in Proverbs is repeated here. Wisdom begins where?
Fear of the Lord.
In the fear of the Lord. And true wisdom flows from it. But then the second part is humility before honor. What is humility? It's a good thing to study. What is humility? Can I give you my example of humility? My example of humility is Jesus walking into the Last Supper with a towel in his pocket. Now, I know that doesn't work for that time frame, but this is my vision, okay? Don't mess with it. But Jesus walking in with a towel in his back pocket and telling everybody, look, I'm fixing to wash your feet. I'm going to do this. And I'm doing this gratefully. I'm doing this because I love you. To me, that's humility. Knowing, being, Jesus, when I think of humility, I always think of Jesus. Jesus up on the cross And this is me again, right? This is my vision. But Jesus up on the cross and him saying, hey, if he really is the Son of God, he'll jump down for me. I'd have got off that cross so fast. And said, Nanny! But the humility part of that was he stayed there. And he did that and died for us. And I think that we have to honor that. That's part of the fear of the Lord too, is what he did for us. But when I think of humility, that's kind of where I go. You know, and I know I went way back to Jesus, but I see people who today still live that kind of humility. People who can or have way more than what you would think society has told people they're supposed to act this way or be this people, but the people who actually just, I'll give you a prime example of today's humility for me. My brother, my older brother Tommy, I probably told y'all this before too, but I keep repeating myself like Solomon. But he works at a hospital. And the thing is his conversations with the, what do you call the guys that work on your brain? His conversation with a neurosurgeon is the same conversation with the janitor. You know what I mean? There's no difference, and he's the same. To me, that's a vision of humility in life. I know we all have our own stories. Y'all got a story, right? Anybody got one story about humility that they would like to share tonight? Like right now. No humility stories? You gotta know somebody. Man, that's terrible. All right. The thing is that, so what do you think, what do you really think, though, humility is?
Never put yourself above anyone else.
Never put yourself above anyone else. A servant's heart.
Yeah.
Would you say that? A servant's heart.
Yeah.
No, I had to have a servant's heart because I had a special daughter, and I first had to love to have a servant's heart.
That can cause a lot of humility right there.
But she has so much love, we all love her, and she got all the attention in the world, and really,
That was her purpose.
that was her purpose, and people paid attention to the love that she had, it was so pure.
All right, I want y'all to think, that's y'all's project for next week, is to come back with a story of humility. So that we'll know exactly what we're talking about. So, if humility is supposed to be good, it is supposed to come before honor. What is honor?
Glory. Yeah, recognition.
Recognition, glory, honor. Humility comes before all that, right? It's kind of like what we talked about when we coach them little 6-year-olds that can't do anything. You know, and we want to be championship coach. And there ain't nothing but a championship. Has anybody here ever coached a team that's just terrible? Julie, I know you have. We were together. You know, when you coach a team that's bad and there's nothing you can do about it, not one thing, you can't make people good. That will cause you to be humble. Right? It'll cause you to be humble. But when you've got a good team though, and you know it, and you got your chest all poked out, that's the honor part of this. Does that make sense? If I put it in those terms, everybody can picture that and you see it. Right? Okay.
Sammy, talking about humility, you know, there is a bunch of projects this weekend. So that's, we're gonna have everyone goes out, it's gonna be pretty much doing it for that reason. And we're gonna end up getting blessing like we typically always do, even though we're trying to help someone else, it's giving us a blessing for it.
You know, and I'm glad you said it, because there's joy in that.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I hate to say this, but John, you remember when we went down to Mississippi? And even when we went up to New Jersey? I got the biggest blessing out of crawling in mud, digging stuff up, tearing stuff out. And it was, the bad thing about it is, and I hate to say this, at somebody else's tragedy, I received some of the, Jim, you were there, we received some of the greatest blessings that we've ever gotten off of something that was bad. I would say you're right, that is humility in itself too.
You know, remember some of the people said they felt guilty for having so much fun in this area of distress. And it's one of those things like, well, don't come down here and be all hangdog. You know, work, make people feel better, make some people smile, lift some people up so they know it's gonna get better. Don't wallow with them in the mud.
A cheerful look brings joy to the heart.
It does, it really does. And it was true. Well, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to exclude anybody in that, but I know we've all done things that are similar in that way, where you've done something, you didn't know what you were getting into, it's probably something you've never done before. I remember I cut so much sheetrock that week. But I think, and this is a great time for me to plug this for this Sunday. This Sunday we're going to talk about the commitment to change, right? Making a change and sticking with it, life changes. But one of those things is doing things together. And a lot of times when you get a group of people together who are like-minded to go in and do these things, it's a whole lot more fun, right? But don't get dehydrated and have this little spasm going and everybody laughing at you. Until somebody from some other church has to call a nurse in to help you.
True story.
That's a story for another day. But anyway, it's a true story and it's funny today.
It's funny then.
Not to me.
Not to you, but it was funny.
All right, I've got 7:16. Do you guys want to go into 16, or you want to stop here and just pray? Doggone it! I mean to do something. Hey, Madison, will you run up there? Has everybody seen our video?
I have, yeah. Are you talking about the prayer video?
Yes.
Yeah, I saw it.
You think you could? I can try. Okay. We'll talk for a second while Madison's going to try. But I've got to tell you, this is a humble, prideful moment. If we can get this up, because Lauren put together. It was actually Sherry Craven's idea that we do something to kind of engage with Franklin Graham and his group going to Washington, D.C. for the day of prayer last Saturday. And there was like 50,000 Christians that were there. And
How do I turn the projector on? Just flip it?
the red button at the top, far closest to you. There you go. So, but I'm gonna try to pull this up. It's on Facebook, but if you haven't seen it, I think this thing should go viral, like super viral. It's one of the things, but it's just the humbleness of it all, and the beauty of it all, and the way it was put together. If you don't like it, don't tell me. You ever pull it up on the computer?
Yeah, but I already have sound, so that's what I'm trying to get real quick.
Okay.
One thing I noticed, Simon, was that the media didn't even cover that party at all.
No, they didn't.
This is sad.
Well, there's not many good things that the media covers anymore. But I won't get in that debate tonight, or any political stuff, but it's kind of a shame the way people do things.
You know, you were talking about humility and honor with sports, and think about that team that goes 0-10 with a bunch of kids, and then 2 years later they're winning a championship or something. And then they've gone through, they've gone through the lowest, and then when they do win, how much it means to them, and how much more it means to them, and the honor that they feel for their teammates, the things they've gone through together. It's different than getting everything thrown on you, the success right away.
Oh yeah, for sure. For sure.
Well, not yet, but will you turn the speakers and the boxes on?
Yeah.
Okay, so wait, who just does that? Then,
I promise you guys, I know you are thinking, man, what in the world is this crazy dude doing?
What do you think that is?
nobody.
100% worth your time, then you can smack me later. Ladies and gentlemen, we're live! But, all right, she's working on that. But is it, somebody has seen it, though, right? Anybody here has seen it?
Yeah.
You have?
Yeah.
What did you think of it?
I thought it was awesome.
Is it worth watching
You talking about the
again?
one with Will
Yeah.
Praise? You talking about the video with Will Praise, right?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
You saw it?
Yeah.
It was very,
Pretty good, isn't it?
very well edited too.
Hey, while she's working on that, I'm gonna go ahead and go through the prayer request list, because and we may end with that, because the prayer there will cover what we're talking about tonight. That might be a great way to end. So please try to remember Madison over at the apartments and her roommate Mackenzie, Karen Zimmerman in Morocco, Matt and Jessica Hoffman, and especially their daughter Adeline, who actually went to the hospital, had all those leads put on her. She actually was able to have several of those big seizures. I hate to say that that was a good thing, but it was a good thing. So they've kind of figured out some of that, and hopefully she's getting better. All right, we need to remember Buddy Medlin, Tim Kaysen, Willie Horner, Brenda James, Barkley Ballard, Francis Wright, Rusty Crawford, Irvin Duckworth, Bo and Vivian Harris, Dennis Glassingame, Chris Carassi, Ruby Spees, Sue Smith, Betty Yao, Leon Summers, April Kelly, Linda Hampton, Leroy Mitchell, Lanny Falk, Patrick Langley, Nancy Lancaster, Justin Dixon, Terry Norris, Carl Levi, Needham Layton, Ruth Lowe. I don't know if you guys know it or not, but I just found out today Ruth fell and broke her hip. She's at Twin Lakes now in rehab. Ozetta Bunker, Dale and Hilda Lowry, also Ronald. I don't know if you guys know this either, but yesterday morning, what's today?
Stay a month.
So, yesterday morning, this past weekend, Dale's brother passed away in Arkansas. And I don't know if y'all know Dale, but he's fairly elderly. But he wanted to go. So Ronald loaded him up in the van yesterday and they took off for Arkansas. So pray that they get back, and both of them are still living.
You talking about Ronald Lowry?
16 hours.
Ronald Lowry?
Yeah. So, sorry. Where was I? Otis and Ethel Terrell, just so you know, Otis had surgery today on his bladder again. They're keeping him overnight for observation. George Quasha, Johnny Hamby, Francis Roselli, Angela Hall, George Gray, Anita Baker, Wilbur and Barbara Pruitt, Toy Dean and Kay May, Lottie Robertson, Amber Sykes, Doug, Lisa, Andrew Fox, Annette Stokes, Tammy Pennington, Tyler, Kayla, and Baker, Pat Oliver, Keith Hill, Charlie Wilkerson, Archie and Margaret Wilburn, Paul West, Danny and Anita Wilson, and their son Jordan, Edna Phillips, Rose Wilkinson, Virginia McGee, Ken Edwards, Jimmy and Rhonda McCann, April, Dalton Booth, Sheldon Allen, Dennis and Marilyn Carter, Eric Bunker, Martha Collins, Tim Bradley, Ruth Meyer, Josh Schultz, Vivian Cynical, Deborah Saunders, Carter Terrell, Cole Terrell, Marie Terrell, Betty Tripp, Barry Oakley, Lynn McKnight. Please remember all of our staff, and also remember all of our deacons. And then we have Blanche Woods, Joyce Dickens, Jerry Moore, Marshall and Nancy Martin, Stephen J., Gerald Dickerson, and he said take him off the list, sorry. Ain't that a praise? Ricky Socks, Sandy, Mensor.
Sam, can I say something?
Oh, sorry, Sandy. Yes.
So, a couple of weeks ago, I said she had breast surgery and, whatever, yes, and dectomy, whatever you call it. But, she ended up, getting COVID, and she got
Oh, wow.
So, we could put, make sure we keep on our prayers. Not to, she's providing her immune system a shot from the chemo.
Right.
That's not good.
I'm sorry to hear that. All right, remember our friend Jordan Wilson, hey Jordan from Hall River, Mike Williams, Dolly Goldstone, remember Casey Knight. Jordan also asked us to remember the Hall River Fire Department and the Police Department. Also, Tyler Franklin and Pom Pom they're expecting. We said Casey. Also remember Shannon Harris.
He's good.
He's good.
Don't take him off.
Any other prayer requests? See if there's any online right there.
I was gonna.
Sounds like we're not gonna be able to have it. Okay. All right, so we'll end in prayer. If you get a chance,
It's awesome.
it's worth your time to go and see this prayer thing that we put out.
Why we gonna say it?
It's on Facebook.
Facebook. Can you not find it?
I can, but I can't, there's no way, I don't know how to use the board to play the sound.
You can almost Bluetooth it in from the phone.
No.
It's just too much. All right, so we'll end with prayer tonight. Can I get 2 volunteers or I have to volunteer? Keith says he'll open us up. Who's going to finish for us?
Miss Carolyn has her hand up.
Oh, Carolyn will finish up for us. All right, cool. You got lucky.
Most gracious Heavenly Father, I want to thank you so much for the opportunity tonight to come and dig a little deeper into your word, Lord, and Proverbs, and just to try to understand these scriptures that you laid upon us, Lord. It's so good to break them down one by one like we're doing, and just trying to grow and get closer to you each and every day. Just thank you so much for the folks that's here, the ones that couldn't make it tonight. Just lift them up, and just thank you so much for laying this on Sammy's heart to talk to us and try to explain your words to us a little deeper, Lord. Just as we can mention all these folks on the prayer list, Lord, there's so much sickness and things out there that, us as people who are healthy, we take it for granted sometimes, Lord. We're up and we're able to go and do the things we do. Just, we give you praise and honor for that. And we just thank you so much for your Son, Jesus' name, we do pray.
Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this time together to study your word. We thank you for Sammy's teaching, and we pray that you would bless those who would have gone if they could have, but for health reasons or other reasons couldn't be here. Lord, we thank you so much for your blessings that you give us every day, and thank you for the guidance that you give us if we pay attention. And I just ask that you would bless our country, that we would value each other in a greater way, and that you lead us to accomplish the good that you want us to do. And bless all those on that prayer list, and just pray that you would suit a need to each one of those who have asked for prayer. We know that you are the healer. And now, Father, just bless us now as we go to our homes, and watch over us and care for us, and help us to find what it is for you to do each day. Thank you for this church and for your blessings and ministries it does all the time. We just ask you that you will forgive us our sins and our shortcomings in Jesus' name.
Amen. Thank you guys for coming tonight. Hope to see you Sunday. Peace.